I rented the car at the airport, a white sedan, nothing fancy, the kind of car that blends in anywhere. The rental agent asked if I wanted GPS. I said no. I had my phone. Google Maps. That's all I needed. That was my first mistake. My name is Michael Patterson. I'm 53 years old, American. I work in finance, married for 28 years, 2 kids. Sarah is 24, just finished graduate school. David is 21, in his final year of college. This was supposed to be our family vacation. One last trip together before the kids were fully independent, before they had careers and lives that made coordinating schedules impossible. We chose Rio de Janeiro. My wife Amanda had always wanted to see it. The beaches, the mountains, the culture. We'd spent months planning, booked a nice hotel in Ipanema, made lists of everything we wanted to see: Cristo Redentor, Sugarloaf Mountain, the Botanical Gardens, Celeron Steps, all the classic tourist destinations. We arrived on a Saturday morning in February 2024, summer in Brazil. Hot, humid, but beautiful. The view from the plane as we descended was spectacular. Green mountains rising from blue ocean, the city sprawling between them. We collected our luggage, went through customs, found the rental car desk. The whole process took about 90 minutes. By noon, we were in the white sedan, air conditioning blasting. Google Maps open on my phone, heading toward our hotel. The drive from the airport was supposed to take 40 minutes. The route looked straightforward on the map. Highway along the coast. A few turns. Simple. We'd be at the hotel by 1 p.m., have lunch, spend the afternoon at the beach. That was the plan. For the first 20 minutes, everything was fine. The highway was busy, but moving. Amanda was in the passenger seat taking photos of the ocean. Sarah and David were in the back, talking, laughing, excited. I was relaxed, happy. This was exactly what we needed. Family time, adventure, a break from the routines of home. Then the GPS recalculated. The voice on my phone said, "In 500 meters, take the exit on the right." I glanced at the map. The exit would take us off the highway onto a smaller road. It looked like a shortcut. Cutting through some neighborhoods to avoid traffic ahead made sense. GPS algorithms are designed to find the fastest route. I took the exit. The road was narrower but still paved. Still fine. Residential buildings on both sides. Some shops, people walking. Normal urban landscape. But after about a kilometer, the road got smaller. The buildings closer together. The pavement rougher. I started to feel uneasy. "This doesn't look like the way to Ipanema," Amanda said. "GPS says it's fine. Probably just taking us through a local neighborhood. I don't know. This doesn't feel right." I looked at the map on my phone. We were still en route. Blue line showing where to go. But the street names weren't translating properly. And the buildings around us were changing, getting more densely packed, more improvised. Then I saw the graffiti, elaborate murals on walls, tags I didn't understand. And the people on the street started looking at our car differently. Not friendly, not hostile, just watchful. "Dad," Sarah said from the back seat, "where are we?" "Just a neighborhood, we're fine." But I wasn't sure we were fine. The road forked. GPS said go left. I went left. The street immediately got steeper, climbing a hill. The buildings on either side were now brick structures, unfinished in places, exposed rebar. Laundry hanging between buildings, power lines crisscrossing overhead in chaotic tangles. This wasn't a normal neighborhood. This was a favela. I'd read about favelas before coming to Rio. Everyone warned us, don't go into favelas. They're dangerous, controlled by gangs. Outsiders aren't welcome. If you accidentally enter one, turn around immediately. I tried to find a place to turn around, but the street was too narrow. Cars parked on both sides, motorcycles weaving past us, people walking in the middle of the road. I couldn't do a 3-point turn without blocking everything. "Recalculating," the GPS said. "In 100 meters, turn right." "Michael, I think we should go back," Amanda said. Her voice was tight, scared. "I'm trying. Just let me find a wider spot." I kept driving. following the GPS because I didn't know what else to do. Every turn took us deeper, higher up the hill, the streets getting narrower, the looks from people getting longer, more intense. Then I saw the motorcycles, 3 of them, coming up behind us fast. They didn't pass, they just followed. Close. "Dad, those bikes are following us," David said. "I know, just stay calm." "Turn off the GPS," Sarah said. "Get us out of here." "I'm trying!" But I wasn't. I was frozen, hands gripping the wheel, following the blue line on my phone because my brain couldn't process what else to do. The motorcycles pulled up alongside us, 1 on each side, 1 behind. The riders were young, late teens, early 20s, wearing t-shirts, shorts, no helmets. They weren't smiling, they weren't threatening. They were just there, watching us, escorting us. We reached a wider area, a small plaza, a few shops, a bar, people sitting outside. They all stopped talking when we drove past, just stared. The white sedan with foreign plates, the obvious tourists, the complete idiots who'd driven into their territory. I stopped the car. "What are you doing?" Amanda asked. "I need to figure out where we are, how to get back to the highway." I looked at my phone. The GPS was still showing route to our hotel, but the route went deeper into the favela, up more narrow streets. The algorithm didn't understand that we shouldn't be here. It only understood distance and time. The motorcycles stopped near us, engines idling, the riders watching. One of them, a kid maybe 19, approached my window. I rolled it down a few inches. "You're lost," he said in Portuguese accented English. "Yes, very lost. I'm trying to find Ipanema. Ipanema is down the hill. You went the wrong way. Can you tell me how to get back to the highway?" He looked at the other riders. They exchanged words in Portuguese I didn't understand. Then he looked back at me. "You can't go back the way you came. Street only goes one way up here. You have to go forward, through the community, then down the other side. Is that safe?" He smiled slightly. Not mean, just amused by my obvious fear. "Usually no. For you today, yes, because I'll take you. Follow me." "Why would you help us?" "Because you're tourists, lost tourists. If something happens to you here, police come, military police. They tear up the whole place looking for who did it. That's bad for everyone. So I make sure you get out safe. Everyone's happy." He didn't wait for me to agree, just went back to his motorcycle, started driving slowly, expecting us to follow. "Should we trust him?" Amanda asked. "Do we have a choice?" I put the car in gear, followed the motorcycle. The other 2 bikes fell in behind us. We were being escorted, protected or contained, I couldn't tell, maybe both. We drove through the favela. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen. The density was overwhelming, buildings stacked on buildings, stairs everywhere, narrow passages between structures where you could barely fit a person, satellite dishes on every roof, bars on every window, and people everywhere, kids playing soccer in alleys, women hanging laundry, men sitting on steps. They all watched us pass, some with curiosity, some with suspicion, some with expressions I couldn't read. The street zigzagged, sometimes paved, sometimes dirt and rocks. We passed a small school, a church, a community center. Normal life happening in a place that felt completely foreign to me. We drove for maybe 15 minutes, though it felt like an hour. No one spoke in the car. Amanda was gripping the door handle. Sarah had her eyes closed. David was filming out the window with his phone until I told him to stop. "Don't take pictures, don't record, just sit still." We passed a corner where a group of young men were standing. They had guns, not concealed, just there. AK-47s, pistols, visible, casual, like carrying a phone. They watched us pass. Didn't react. The kid on the motorcycle glanced back to make sure we were still following. We kept going. Finally, the street started descending, getting wider. The buildings becoming more formal, more permanent. We were leaving the favela, coming back down to the regular city. The asphalt improved, the power lines became organized, the graffiti disappeared. We emerged onto a main avenue, traffic, buses, normal Rio. The motorcycle pulled over. I pulled over behind him. He came to my window again. "This is Rua São Clemente. You know where you are now?" I checked my phone. We were maybe 3 kilometers from our hotel, back on familiar map territory. "Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Next time, don't use GPS in Rio. It doesn't understand the city. It will take you places you shouldn't go. Use Waze or hire a driver, but don't follow GPS blindly." "I understand. Can I pay you for helping?" He shook his head. "No money. Just go. And tell your family Rio isn't just favelas and danger. There's good here too. You just have to be smarter about where you go." He drove off. The other 2 motorcycles followed. They disappeared into traffic, and we sat there for a moment, just breathing. "Is everyone okay?" I asked. Amanda nodded. Sarah was crying, quietly. "We're fine, sweetie. We're safe now." "That was the scariest thing I've ever experienced," Sarah said. "I thought we were going to die. But we didn't. We're okay." I pulled back into traffic, drove to the hotel. No one spoke. The rest of the day was subdued. We checked in, unpacked, had lunch at the hotel restaurant, went to the beach for an hour. But the mood was broken, the vacation already tainted by what had happened in the first 2 hours. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed replaying everything. The wrong turn, the GPS leading us deeper instead of out, the motorcycles, the guns, the young man who'd helped us for reasons I still didn't fully understand. Amanda wasn't sleeping either. "We should go home," she said. "What?" "This was a mistake. Rio is too dangerous. We're not equipped for this. Let's just cut our losses and fly home." "We've been here for 12 hours. We can't give up because we made one wrong turn." "It wasn't just a wrong turn, Michael. We drove into a place controlled by armed gangs. We could have been robbed, killed, taken hostage. Do you understand how lucky we were?" "I do, but that kid helped us. Nothing bad happened." "This time? What about next time? What if we make another mistake?" "We won't. We'll be more careful. Hire drivers. Stay in tourist areas. We'll be fine." She didn't look convinced, but she didn't argue either. We spent Sunday doing tourist things, took a taxi to Sugarloaf Mountain. The views were spectacular. The cable car ride was thrilling. Sarah and David seemed to relax a bit. Amanda took photos, smiled. We had dinner at a nice restaurant in Leblon. Seafood, caipirinhas, live music. By the end of the evening, it felt like maybe we could salvage the trip. Like maybe Saturday's incident could be a story we'd laugh about later. Remember when Dad's GPS took us into a favela? Remember how terrified Mom looked? Remember the kid on the motorcycle who saved us? Maybe it would become funny. Eventually. On Monday, we hired a driver through the hotel, a man named Roberto, middle-aged, spoke good English. He drove us to Cristo Redentor. The statue was even more impressive in person. Standing beneath it, arms outstretched over the city, was powerful. We took the obligatory family photos. Roberto waited patiently, took pictures for us, gave us time to explore. On the drive back, he asked how we were enjoying Rio. "It's beautiful," Amanda said, "but also intimidating." "Intimidating how?" I told him about Saturday, about the GPS taking us into a favela, about getting lost, about the motorcycles. Roberto's expression changed, became serious. "Which favela?" "I don't know. We were near the airport, trying to get to Ipanema. Probably Complexo da Maré. Very big, very dangerous. You were lucky." "That's what everyone keeps saying, but the people there didn't hurt us. A kid even helped us get out." "Yes, because you were obviously lost tourists, obviously not a threat, but if you'd been something else, a rival dealer, an undercover cop, a journalist. Different story, very different. So we were safe because we looked helpless." "Exactly. You were no threat to anyone. So they let you go, with escort to make sure you left safely." "That's actually smart. They don't want trouble with tourists. Brings too much police attention. Bad for business." "Business? You mean drugs?" Roberto glanced at me in the rearview mirror. I'm not saying anything about that. But yes, favelas have economies, leadership, rules. And one rule is usually, don't mess with tourists unless they mess with you first. So we really were lucky. Very lucky. But also smart. You didn't panic. Didn't do anything stupid. Didn't take photos. Just followed when told to follow. That probably saved you. The rest of the week was better. We saw the botanical gardens, walked through Santa Teresa, visited the Museum of Tomorrow, went to a samba show in Lapa. Everything a tourist should do, but I couldn't shake the feeling from Saturday. The fear, the helplessness, the understanding that we'd been completely out of our depth. On Thursday, our last full day, we decided to drive to Prainha Beach, a more remote beach about an hour from the city. Roberto wasn't available, so I decided to drive. Amanda was hesitant. Are you sure after what happened? I'll be careful. I'll use Waze instead of Google Maps. We'll stick to main roads. It'll be fine. We set out around 9 a.m. The drive along the coast was beautiful. Green mountains on one side, ocean on the other. Waze gave clear directions. No shortcuts through neighborhoods, just highways and main roads. We reached Prainha around 10:30. The beach was stunning. White sand, clear water, surrounded by jungle-covered hills. Not crowded, peaceful. We spent hours there, swimming, relaxing, having a picnic lunch we'd brought from the hotel. This was what the vacation was supposed to be. This was the Rio we'd come to see. Around 4 p.m. we decided to head back, beat the traffic, get to the hotel in time for dinner. I plugged in our hotel address, started following Waze directions. For the first 30 minutes, everything was fine. Same route we'd taken earlier. Then Waze recalculated. Traffic ahead. New route will save 15 minutes. The app showed a different way, through some neighborhoods instead of staying on the coastal highway. I remembered what Roberto had said about GPS not understanding Rio, about how algorithms don't know which areas are safe, but the route looked reasonable. It stayed on marked roads, didn't veer into obvious favela territory, and saving 15 minutes meant beating rush hour traffic. I took the alternate route. Michael, are you sure about this? Amanda asked. Waze says it's faster and it's still daylight. We'll be fine. The first few turns were okay. Residential streets, middle-class neighborhoods. But then the character changed. The houses got simpler, the streets narrower. I started recognizing the signs: unfinished construction, dense building, improvised infrastructure. Dad, I think we're going into another favela, David said. I checked the map. We were still en route, but the route was taking us through an area that looked similar to where we'd been on Saturday. It's fine, we're just passing through. We'll be out in a few minutes. But we weren't. The road climbed. The buildings closed in. And then we hit a checkpoint. A barrier across the road. 2 men standing guard. They weren't police. They weren't military. They were locals, armed. One of them held up his hand. Stop. I stopped the car. My heart was hammering. Stay calm, I said to my family. Everyone stay calm. The man approached my window. He was older than the kid who'd helped us on Saturday, maybe 30, scarred face, no smile. He gestured for me to roll down the window. I did. Where are you going? He asked in Portuguese. Ipanema, our hotel. We took a wrong turn. Wrong turn. He looked at the phone mounted on my dashboard, saw the Waze app, laughed, not a friendly laugh. GPS again. Tourists and GPS, always the same problem. Then can you tell us how to get back to the main road? Can't go back. Road behind you is blocked. Construction. You have to go forward. Through here? Through here, but there's a toll. A toll? Yes, toll for using our road. 500 reais. That's almost $100. He shrugged. Our road, our toll. You want to pass, you pay. What if I don't pay? His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes did. Then you don't pass, and we have a problem. You don't want a problem. I looked at Amanda. She was pale. Sarah was crying again in the back seat. David was staring straight ahead, trying not to show fear. I pulled out my wallet, counted out 500 rees, handed it to him. He took it, counted it carefully, then stepped back, waved us through. The barrier lifted. I drove forward, hands shaking. "That was robbery," Amanda said. "That was a toll," I replied. "What's the difference?" "That was illegal." "The difference is we're still alive, just let it go." We drove through the favela. This one was bigger than the first, more developed, more organized. We passed shops, bars, a health clinic, normal community infrastructure, but also men with guns on corners, watching, monitoring, making sure we kept moving, making sure we didn't stop, didn't take photos, didn't cause problems. After 20 minutes, we emerged onto a main avenue, back in regular Rio. I pulled over, just sat there for a minute. "Is this city trying to kill us?" Sarah asked. No one answered. We made it back to the hotel, returned the rental car the next morning, took a taxi to the airport, flew home. The vacation was over. When people ask how Rio was, I don't know what to say. It was beautiful. The beaches, the mountains, the energy of the city, all of that was real. But so was the fear, the helplessness, the understanding that we were always one wrong turn away from serious danger. I think about the 2 favelas we accidentally entered, about how different they were. The first one, where a kid helped us, where people seemed to tolerate our presence as long as we didn't cause trouble. The second one, where we were charged a toll, where the vibe was more hostile, more transactional. Both were technically illegal areas. Both were controlled by gangs rather than official government. But they had different rules, different attitudes toward outsiders. And there was no way to know which kind you were entering until you were already inside. That's what scared me most. The unpredictability, the lack of control. At home, I know the rules. I know which areas are safe, which streets to avoid, which situations to stay out of. In Rio, I had no idea, and the tools I relied on, GPS and navigation apps, actively led me into danger. They optimized for speed and distance. They didn't know about territorial boundaries, about which neighborhoods were safe for tourists, about where outsiders were welcome and where they weren't. I've thought about writing to Google and Waze, telling them their algorithms are dangerous, that they need to flag certain areas, warn users before routing through favelas, but I don't know if that would help. Maybe it would make things worse. Maybe marking areas as dangerous would stigmatize communities that are already marginalized. Maybe it would increase the perception of danger beyond what's actually warranted. Because here's the thing I've realized. Those 2 favelas we drove through, thousands of people live there, regular people, families, kids going to school, parents going to work, people living their lives. For them, those communities aren't dangerous, they're home. The danger exists primarily for outsiders, for people who don't belong, who don't understand the rules, who stand out. And we stood out, obviously, completely. A white rental car with foreign plates driven by American tourists. We might as well have had a sign on the car. "Rob us. We don't belong here." But we weren't robbed. Not in the first favela. The kid helped us. For free. Because he understood that letting us get hurt would bring consequences for his entire community. In the second favela, we paid a toll, which was robbery in everything but name. But we paid and were let through. No violence, no threats beyond the implicit pay or else. So what's the truth about Rio? About favelas? About danger? I don't know. I'm not qualified to judge. I spent 6 days in the city, made 2 major mistakes, survived both. That doesn't make me an expert. But I can say this, Rio is a city of extremes, extreme beauty and extreme poverty, extreme wealth and extreme danger, existing side by side, sometimes separated by just a wrong turn. And if you're going to visit, if you're going to drive yourself around, you need to understand that GPS won't save you. It will lead you to the fastest route, not the safest. You need local knowledge, local guides, people who understand the invisible boundaries that divide neighborhoods. Or you need to accept that you might end up where you don't belong and hope that the people there are more tolerant than hostile. We were lucky. Twice. But luck runs out. Eventually, I don't think I'll go back to Rio. Not because I hated it, but because I don't trust myself to navigate it safely, because I understand now that there are places I don't have the skills to explore, places where my normal tools and instincts don't work, where being a tourist isn't enough to keep you safe. My kids have a different perspective. David wants to go back. He was scared, but also fascinated. He's been researching favelas since we got home, reading about their history, their culture, the social issues. He talks about maybe volunteering there someday, working with an NGO, making a difference. Sarah never wants to hear the word favela again. She had nightmares for weeks after we got back, dreams of being trapped in narrow streets, of motorcycles following her, of men with guns. Amanda is somewhere in between. She acknowledges Rio was beautiful, but she's also angry at me for making the wrong turns, at the GPS for leading us astray, at the city for being so divided, so dangerous for outsiders. As for me, I'm just grateful we all came home safe, that my mistakes didn't cost us more than 500 rays and a lot of fear, that the people we encountered, whether helpful or mercenary, let us leave. Because it could have been different, so easily different. The kid on the motorcycle could have decided we weren't worth helping. The checkpoint could have been run by people with worse intentions. We could have turned down a different street, run into a different situation. A situation that didn't end with us driving away. A few months after we got back, I saw a news story about tourists in Rio who'd made a wrong turn, driven into a favela. Their car was shot up in a crossfire between gangs and police. One of the tourists died. The others were injured. The story didn't say which favela, didn't explain what they'd done wrong or right, just that they'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I thought, that could have been us, so easily. The only difference between us and them was luck. Timing, the particular streets we turned down, the particular communities we ended up in. The particular people we encountered. That's what haunts me. Not what happened, but what could have happened. The proximity to disaster. The thin line between the story I'm telling and a very different story. A story that ends with a hospital, or a morgue, or an international incident. We have photos from the trip. Cristo Redentor, Sugarloaf, the beaches. My family smiling, having fun. To anyone looking at those photos, it was a normal vacation, a successful trip. But I know what's not in the photos. The fear in the car as we drove through those neighborhoods, the motorcycles following us, the checkpoint and the toll, the guns, the understanding that we were completely vulnerable, completely dependent on the mercy of strangers. That's the real story of our Rio vacation. Not the tourist destinations, but the 2 hours we spent lost. The 2 hours where a simple GPS error almost cost us everything. And the lesson I learned, that the world is more complex than I understood, that there are places where my privilege and nationality and good intentions don't protect me, where I'm just another target, another outsider, another person who doesn't belong. I'm grateful we learned that lesson and survived, but I'm also sad. Because Rio is beautiful. The parts we saw legally, with guides, in tourist areas, all of that was incredible. And I wish that could have been the whole story, but it wasn't. The whole story includes the fear, the danger, the wrong turns, and I can't separate them, can't pretend the trip was just beaches and monuments. It was also motorcycles and guns and toll collectors who weren't really collecting tolls. It was also a city that's fractured, where unofficial territories exist within official boundaries, where apps and maps don't reflect reality, where the rules I know don't apply. And I'm not equipped for that. I'm a 53-year-old American who's lived a comfortable life. I've never had to navigate actual danger, never had to make split-second decisions about safety, never had to read situations where the wrong choice could be fatal. In Rio, for 2 brief periods, I had to do all of that, and I got lucky. But I never want to be in that position again, never want to feel that helpless, that dependent on strangers' goodwill, that aware of my own vulnerability. So when people ask if they should visit Rio, I don't know what to say. Yes, it's beautiful. Yes, there's culture and food and beaches and mountains. Yes, millions of people visit every year and have wonderful experiences. But also, be careful, be smart. Don't trust your GPS. Hire local guides. Stay in tourist areas. Understand that the city is divided in ways that aren't visible on maps. That one wrong turn can take you somewhere you don't want to be. And if you do end up somewhere you don't belong, stay calm, don't panic, don't take photos, don't do anything that could be interpreted as threatening or disrespectful. Just follow instructions. Get out as quickly and quietly as possible, and be grateful if you're allowed to leave. That's my advice, based on experience, based on mistakes, based on the worst 2 hours of what was supposed to be a family vacation. The GPS took me into the favela twice, and both times I barely made it out. I was lucky. Others might not be. So if you go to Rio, if you rent a car, if you decide to drive yourself around one of the most complex cities in South America, just remember, the GPS doesn't know everything. The algorithms don't understand danger. The blue line on your screen might lead you somewhere beautiful or somewhere terrifying, and you won't know which until you're already there. My name is Michael Patterson. I'm 53 years old. And this is the story of how a simple navigation error almost destroyed my family's vacation, and my peace of mind, and my naive belief that as long as you're careful, as long as you follow the rules, you'll be safe. Rio taught me that's not true. Sometimes safety is just luck, and luck can run out. I was lucky twice, but I'll never forget how it felt to realize I wasn't in control, that I'd driven my family into danger. That everything I thought I knew about staying safe was useless in that context. That's the real story, the story underneath the vacation photos, the story I'll carry with me forever. The GPS took me into the favela, and I'll never fully leave, not mentally, not emotionally. Part of me is still there, driving through narrow streets, following motorcycles, hoping I'll be allowed to leave, still scared, still helpless, still lucky.